And it's time to take a look at your money this morning. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, in February, the U.S. economy added 275,000 new jobs. This was well above the 190,000 that Wall Street was expecting. But the national unemployment rate also jumped from 3.7% to 3.9%, the highest unemployment rate in over 2 years. So what exactly is the current state of the U.S. labor market? Well, to help us break that down is our financial advisor, Mark Gravicheski, who is joining us now live to break this down. Mark, good morning.
Good morning to you, Charles. Happy Monday. Great to see you again, even though it is over Zoom.
I know we're trying a little different approach, but hey, we're still going to get the job done. That's the plan. But happy belated
That's
St.
right.
Patty's Day. And we will start off. Mark, give us your thoughts on this latest data on the labor market.
Charles, kind of when you take a deeper dive into this latest data, it does show that the labor market is still fairly strong. But that said, there's clear evidence it is gradually weakening. The key word being gradually. In February, the national unemployment rate did jump from 3.7 up to 3.9%, as you just mentioned, that being a 2-year high. But look, any unemployment rate below 4% is certainly not a sign of strain or duress within the labor market. On the positive side, though, as you said, in February, a very solid 275,000 new jobs were added, 46,000 more than were added in January. But employee wage growth does continue to decline. Last month, annual wage growth further declined from 4.5% down to 4.3%. And finally, the number of job openings has also been steadily declining. There's currently about 8.86 million unfilled job openings across the country. That is still a fairly strong number, but it is down from the peak of about 12.2 million job openings we had just a couple of years ago.
No, right, Mark. And to what extent is this labor market expected to weaken over the course of this year?
Yeah, kind of on Wall Street, the general consensus, so to speak, is that this labor market, unfortunately, will continue to gradually weaken over the course of 2024. But look, by no means, Charles, is this some type of doom and gloom outlook for the labor market. The unemployment rate is expected to increase to, maybe around 4.3% by the end of 2024. But look, historically, that really isn't that bad of an unemployment rate.
No, right. And so last week, the Department of Labor also reported the latest inflation data. So where are we with respect to inflation?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, 3 years later, inflation is still a significant problem. In February, consumer prices rose another 0.4%. Charles, that was the 45th consecutive monthly rise in consumer prices.
Wow.
Now, remember, the ultimate goal, Charles, is to return inflation back down to that ideal target rate of inflation of just 2%. Now, inflation peaked at a 42-year high of 8.9%. In June of 2022. 12 months later, though, in June of 2023, inflation had declined to just 3%. But over the past 8 months, it's hit this big, giant wall of resistance. In February, inflation was reported at 3.2%, up from 3.1% in January. This means that consumer prices have risen by another 3.2% over the past 12 months. So again, this inflation just remains stubbornly high.
Yeah, and Mark, I think a big question is there any indication on when inflation will get back down to that 2% target rate?
Charles, that's not just the $1 million question, the billion-dollar question that everybody wants to know. But as I keep saying, because it's become so embedded within our economy, we're finding out it's very, very difficult to get rid of. Now, the Federal Reserve, if you remember, which is tasked with trying to get inflation back down to that 2% target rate. as recently as as recently as December, the Federal Reserve said we shouldn't expect inflation to get back down to the 2% for another 2 more years. So, I get it. As much as everyone wants this inflation problem to finally go away, all the data indicates it likely will be with us for quite some time.
Right. It sounds like patience is going to be a virtue, Mark. So,
Patience will
yep.
definitely be a virtue. But look, people's patience are understandably wearing thin. We're already in year 3 of this high inflation, and now to ask them for 2 more years of high inflation is. But you're right; it's going to take some time.
No, absolutely. All righty. Well, that's all I got for you, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Monday.
My pleasure, Charles. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yes, you too. All righty. Now.